Okay. Should be live. Should be live. Let me lower the volume of this mic. Got a first comment here. Ethan, 11:30 sharp. I appreciate it. Yo, what's up, Ethan? Love seeing you in the chat. Gonna let some more people get in here. Start up this mock draft. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Got a full day of drinking ahead of me, so it should be pretty lit. We got Ravers in here. What's up, Ravers? What's up? Yeah, I'm just gonna let people file in, and then I'll send the link in the chat and in the Discord, and we'll get this rolling. Hey, man. Hey, what's up, Philip? Nice seeing you in the chat. Let me just put the live stream link in the Discord, and we'll be ready to roll. Give me a second here. Copy that. Sorry about that, boys. Here, let me get back to the questions. The goat is back. Is there, Mike? Is there? We're vibing today. You know, my crack a brew on the screen. We're gonna be having some boys over. You know, some beer and bocce. The classic on a nice little May 2-4 weekend. You know what it's up. Here, let me just drop this in the chat. Boom. Everyone live right now. Okay. People start filing in here. 17 currently in here. Hey, Danny, fun drafting. Yo, yeah, that was a good draft with the Tone Setters League. It should be a lot of fun. I'm probably not going to compete this year, but by next year, hopefully, I can turn that team into a pretty nice looking one with that draft capital. So, yeah, it was a fun draft. Oh yeah, start off my startup with JJ and CD. That would be hot. I'm not gonna lie. That would be a hot little start there. Let's go. I just joined my first Superflex Dynasty. While we wait do you mind giving me a general start in the draft? Like, do you go? I don't stick to positions. I think sticking to a certain position is not the way you should be attacking your startup, because ultimately here our goal is to accumulate as much value as possible. Whether that's a falling wide receiver, falling quarterback, etc., whatever it is. And I would say my biggest advice is be fluid when you're on the clock. Engage what your league market is. If Najee Harris is there at the mid second, and there's someone in your league that's willing to give you a adequate draft haul to go up and draft that guy, then by all means be fluid, move down the board, move up the board when you see a tier break. That's my big advice there. So in terms of the first round, though, like if you're in, let's just say you have a mid pick, I don't know where you're picking, but I typically like getting one of those top stud quarterbacks, your Lamar Jackson, your Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, etc., going on up. If you can secure one of those guys, I'm very happy with the start of my draft. So those are my main little tidbits. Tony and Wandale for Hollywood. Pretty close deal. I would probably just take Hollywood because I love just getting the stud there. But if you need depth, I think Tony's got a lot of upside, and I do like the prospect profile of a guy like Wandale. So I don't think it's terrible. Also, if you're competing but lacking depth, would you trade Burrow for Hurts and Burks? I'm fine with giving up Burrow for Hurts and Burks. A lot of people might be, a little wary about the long-term situation of Hurts, but I think he's played himself to at least be a starter in the NFL, whether it's in Philly or whether it's somewhere else. He is at minimum a league average type of starter. So I do think he's going to get a role. And if he does get another starting job, which, we know when he does occupy a starting job, he's one of the best rushers of the football at the quarterback position. So I'm starting to warm up a little bit more on Hurts. I do think he's worth his current cost of acquisition. In terms of your position, though, if you need depth, Burks is a top 20 wide receiver in Dynasty for me. So maybe you'd want a slight little pick back to make it, less the stomach giving up Burrow, but I'd be fine making that move. Yeah. I agree. What is the leverage point that makes you pass up a Kyler Murray for? I would never pass up Kyler Murray for JT. Personally, there. My team is a Superflex starters: Watson, Carr, Dobbins, Jacobs, Jefferson. What we thinking about it? It looks pretty good to me. I mean, the fact that you're able to get that wide receiver core is outstanding. You went cheap, but you went efficient at the running back position, and you still got a solid duo at quarterback there. I think you did a good job there, Jeremiah. Kyle Pitts 112 and AJ Brown 205. I got 2023 for dude. Your team is looking good, man. I respect that. Also, is Kyle Pitts real, or is he more hype and not worth over a Kittle Kelsey? I am all in on Kyle Pitts. You don't go out as a 21-year-old rookie tight end, have the second most yards of all time with a plus or 20 plus percent target market share. Like, genuinely speaking, the people that think that Kyle Pitts had a bad rookie season don't really understand how variance works. He was completely inefficient in terms of scoring touchdowns. That's going to fix and situate itself. Kyle Pitts isn't going to be a 2 touchdown per year tight end. He is a 6'6", 240-pound freak of nature that can get open like nobody's business. So in terms of, is the hype real? Absolutely. I am more than comfortable spending a first-round startup pick on Kyle Pitts because he's, to put it simply, one of the most unobtainable post-startup pieces in Dynasty, period. Like, you could genuinely offer somebody 3+ 2023 firsts and it would get declined. Like, genuinely, you can't see that about a lot of assets in Dynasty. But Kyle Pitts is one of those assets where if you have them, it's tough to give up, man. What should I do with Godwin on Rebuild that won't be competitive for 3 years? No one wants him right now. I'd wait until in season then when people realize that he's on a point per game basis, at least a top 20 receiver. And then maybe you could flip him for a future first at that point. What was the first quarterback you would pass up for JT? So many questions this morning. JT's currently my 111, so I would take all of the younger quarterbacks going at the beginning. I would take Jefferson, I would take Chase, and I would take Kyle Pitts. So the problem, though, is you're never going to get JT that late in your first round. Could Kyle Pitts ever be changed to a wide receiver in the NFL fan? I don't see it happening like that. Again, he's going to play, a certain allotment of snaps out wide, a certain allotment of snaps in the slot, but I don't think that he'll ever be a quote-unquote position change type of candidate. Kyle Pitts is the 10-year lock tight end. Dude, genuinely, Kyle Pitts is the gold standard of tight end in Dynasty. That would kill his value. Yeah, I could see. I think he'd still be good, but I could see that. Should I trade Devontae with this more enormous price tag? I have Mitchell, Hall, and ETN as well. If you get an adequate, I'm always open and willing to flipping assets. If somebody's willing to give you a haul for Javonte Williams, I'm fine with parting for him. Again, it would have to be a haul because he is a second-round startup pick. But if you can get that haul, I'm all for it. Let me know what type of offers you're kind of looking at there, Edward. Yeah, like it would have to start with at least 1 or 2 2023 first plus assets if I were to trade a guy like Javonte. All right, we have 38 in here, so I'm going to quickly make this mock draft, slide it in the Discord, which if you guys aren't already in the Discord, link in the description, click in, join the Discord. Fun-loving bunch of degenerates that love talking ball down there, so join that up. Let me copy that invite link, put it in the Discord, and everyone. And then I'll give it a few seconds and then put it into the YouTube chat. I got 2023 1. That looks like it's almost guaranteed 111 or 112. My league mates all think this way too. Should I hold it, sell it? I'm fine with holding it, genuinely. If your league mates valuing it as a 111, 112, there's no downside risk to holding that pick because there's only upside at that point. If it's higher than the 112, guess what? You profit. If it's the exact same, you already got what you thought it would be. So I would just hold it. Where you at with Breece Hall? Some are saying top 4 Dynasty running back. I'd be one of those guys. I'm looking at it. He's under 20 or 21 years old, projects into a workhorse type of role in the NFL, and he will only be 25 years old by the time his rookie contract is done. So there is a lot of appreciability, a lot of value to be had with a guy like Breece. Also, I would prefer him over a guy like Najee Harris straight up. I will share my screen, by the way. This draft actually filled within 2 seconds, so I appreciate you guys. So if you guys don't know, Dynasty Superflex full PPR with a 1.5 tight end premium, as well as a 3rd-round reversal in this draft. So keep those rules in mind when you're picking, when you're watching, etc. I'm going to randomize this draft order, and we will get going. Oh, and I get the 101. Some people are going to cue it rigged. But sorry for those that are going to be calling it rigged. I'm going to take the best asset in Dynasty Fantasy Football and Superflex, Josh Allen. No hesitation there. He is a cheat code. Genuinely, he is an absolute cheat code. Something like Dobbins, another player, plus a mid. That wouldn't be bad. I don't mind that type of transition there, Edward. I think that'd be a good little transition. What's up, everyone? What's up, Leo? I don't want to ruin the draft by joining, seeing as I've never locked the Superflex. Teach me, Daddy. You'll see how it goes. And as you've seen so far, the quarterbacks in a Superflex, the top end stud cornerstone quarterback assets in a Superflex, given appreciability, given longevity, will fly off the board. So you're seeing here, like it's come on, ENIAC, you're not autoing in the first round, bro. Oh, why are you joining the mock draft if you're going to auto? Boo. Come on. Somebody could have taken that spot. Come on, ENIAC. I'm trying to unload Derrick Henry. What should I look for? Dude, like if you can get, a young piece in second, or if somebody's willing to give you a first straight up for Derrick Henry, I am taking that in a heartbeat there, Zach. Car for a maybe mid to late 2023 first. My other quarterbacks are, I think you get like maybe a 1 and a 2, maybe that might be pushing up. I'd be fine with a mid to late one though, given that quarterback core as well. Rigged facts, man. Like, I'm just out here rigging things. It's tough. Tyreek Hill 205 in the 2023 third for KJ Osborne 104 in the 2023 second. I think that's about appropriate. If you're trying to rebuild, I don't mind it. Also, KJ Obama. I would say Tyreek Hill relative value, probably a little bit ahead of Treylon Brooks for me, but if you're rebuilding, I don't mind it. So, we got Corey, man. What's up?
What it do?
What it do? Yo, somebody autoed in the first round.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. Oh shoot! I just turned my mic volume up by accident.
Yeah. Oh, shit's all fucking. Sorry, I was away like all weekend. I just got home.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How was camping, dude?
It was good. Sunday or no, what day was it? Saturday morning or Sunday morning? Sorry, I woke up in like a puddle of water. My fucking tent's like thing flew off, and it like literally rained on me throughout the entire night. I'm actually surprised I'm not sick right now,
dude. That's tough. That's what we call tough.
So I left the campsite to go to my cottage for the rest of the weekend, and then I came back this morning.
Jesus. Yeah, dude, I've just been straight vibing, to be honest.
True.
Yeah, having a few boys over, gonna play some bocce and drink some beer. Classic little long weekend activity.
Facts.
You love to see it. Should I trade Elijah Mitchell if I'm rebuilding? Absolutely. I would look for future draft capital. You don't need Elijah Mitchell's points on your team.
Yeah, I was actually so you saw the Zamir White tweet that I made, right?
I didn't. What did you say?
So I was like, Zamir White, like somebody tweeted out that like Zamir White's like a lock for like a full-time workload this time next year. And I was like,
I saw that. Oh,
I was like, God. A, he's a 4th round shitty prospect. B, this class that we're about to get is going to impact the landscape of running backs around the league. Not to mention some of the free agents that are available, like Pollard and Madison and Jacobs himself. Like there's a lot of guys that are available. So I was like, there's not many running backs that are safe. Like a guy that just went off the board, Najee Harris, he's safe, right? Like there's guys like that are safe, but for the most part, there's not really any jobs that are safe.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, right? Because I saw a tweet yesterday and I was laughing because I feel like he got the exact wrong, conclusion from the tweet that he should have. But he tweeted out, he's like, with the 2023 class coming in, like a lot of our running back jobs are set to be taken from cheap, inexpensive rookies, which is a good point. That is a good point. But then he went, should we start valuing these dynasty running backs closer to like how redraft ADP is? And he's like if you could flip like Javonte into Cook plus, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is the complete wrong conclusion you should have came. The conclusion there is those old redraft backs are the ones that are more likely to be replaced.
Yeah.
The dynasty market is always way ahead of the redraft market. So realistically, if you're, gonna say, oh, Javonte, Dobbins, blah, 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 and then like hype up like Cook, Fournette, and shit like that. Those are the volatile running backs that you should be scared of from a dynasty perspective of their job being taken. So I didn't get that tweet at all.
Yeah, that's an odd conclusion to come to from that tweet for sure.
Well, I was just like laughing because it was like, late at night and I come across this tweet and I'm like, dude, like you literally came to the exact wrong conclusion. But either way, we did actually get a super chat here, 1999. Appreciate that from Philip. He says, can I get your opinion on my dynasty team in our second year of a 5-year league? These are my starters with Wilson, Hall, Algier, Wilson, Amon-Ra, Pickens, Hurts, Flex Bourne, and Flex Tuesday Jones. I would want to know what draft capital you have as well. Because I mean, Bourne and Zay Jones aren't ideal flexes, but I'm assuming you're in a productive struggle. You got a lot of young appreciability at the top of your lineup. So, what picks do you also have with this team? Also, I am on the clock here. Let me just.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as Danny. I would assume that, or at least I'd hope that you have some additional draft capital on top of that. It looks like you're, in the second, you said a second year of a 5-year league. So I don't know what that means exactly. I guess it's only a 5-year dynasty league, if that makes any sense. But looks like you should be, set up a couple of years from now to start trying to turn this roster around. Hopefully you got some more draft capital to do that.
Yep. No, I agree with that. And again, as always, appreciate that 1999 super chat there, Philip. We left off here, I believe. Oh yeah. No, he was saying how he never plays Superflex, and even he would be better than the guy who autoed. Big Spain without the S. Could you do a full mock draft to round 35? I wish I'd be able to do that. However, I know viewer feedback and the stream itself would probably die off at about round 15. So, I mean, I don't think anybody would make
what
it.
What we can do for you instead is maybe I might make a solo vid this week of 10 players after round 15 that I'm taking shots on. So this way you can start to set your cues and get some guys that, again, they're not going to have huge ceilings, because if they did, they'd probably be going a lot higher. But could they be wide receiver 3s this year that fit into a flex spot? For sure. And one guy that I really love taking in that range that Philip actually mentioned is Kendrick Bourne. I think Kendrick Bourne is a perfect guy to take.
Oh, late round.
He goes round 18, 19, 20. And I think he's legit going to have some PPR flex appeal.
I would be down to do that video too. I mean, a couple of the other guys like with you, because I mean, there are some guys that I really like James White goes so late. And I know there's risk. He's older. He's coming off an injury, but all he's been when he's healthy is a top 30 PPR running back. If you're getting that level of production past round 20, realistically, cool. James White never plays another NFL game. What are you losing out on?
Right.
A relative, late 3rd round pick this year is probably about what it would be. Whatever. Another guy like KJ Osborne, we kind of talked in the past, but I mean, with O'Connell coming in, that's inherently going to increase 11 personnel with Minnesota. Osborne did show at least talent and ability to command targets when he was playing last year. And there's always that inherent upside if Thielen were to miss time that Osborne can fill into that wide receiver 2 role. So I am very, relatively warm on KJ Osborne.
I'm actually a little surprised he didn't see his dynasty value increase more from what happened last year, because there was a point in time where he was an every week flex start.
Right? He was good at one point. I'm actually about to be on the clock here.
Looks like we got Chris says competing team this year, single quarterback, pros/cons of trading away Najee for Javonte in a 2023 first. I'm doing that absolutely yesterday. The con obviously is that if I had to bet, I would imagine that Najee Harris is going to outscore Javonte Williams this year by a decent amount. I would say Najee is going to be, locked and loaded top 5 redraft running back this year, whereas Javonte is probably going to be more so in the back end RB1 range, unless anything were to happen to Gordon before or during the season. But barring injury, he's probably going to be a high end RB2, low end RB1 from a redraft perspective. He said, or also 101 in 2022 and a 2023 first. So I would rather have Javonte than Breece. So I would rather Javonte in the 2023 first. So that would be the direction I go. Again, it's probably going to hurt you a little bit this year. But if the rest of your roster is really, really strong, then it should be fine. And it does increase your longevity.
I'm more than fine with either of those moves. And I have both of those guys ranked ahead of Najee. So there's your answer. We actually got another super chat here from Alex, a $5 super chat. Appreciate it a lot. He says, where would you value Pitts if there's no tight end position? We have a tight end / wide receiver position and 3 flex spots, debating between Pitts and Waddle in the startup. Is there any premium for tight end, or is it just strictly, a PPR?
I'm assuming if there's no tight end spot, there's probably no tight end premium either.
Okay. Where would he fall for you? Because
that's an interesting question, honestly. Yeah. I think with Pitts, he'd probably fall around in the territory that you're in now. On this mock draft, he'd probably be somewhere around, Metcalf types, Debo types, guys like that. Because I mean, even if you value him as a wide receiver,
I would take the wide receivers.
Yeah, I would take the wide receivers as well. But even if you think of Pitts as a 21-year-old wide receiver that just had 1,000 yards, I mean, you're still talking about a guy that could have a lot of upside, especially, given the size and all that kind of stuff. So I would say around the third, fourth round is probably where he would fall in that kind of range. Obviously, you don't get that positional advantage at the tight end position, so he definitely would lose value in a format like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Here, where do we leave here? Spent the offseason dealing my way into the 101-102. I have the handcuffs for Hall and Walker. Should I take Walker 102 or go London Burks? Wide receivers are Chase, Devontae, Bateman, and Mike Will, 1 quarterback, 10 team. I personally would just take my next rated player, and that would be Drake London, but I wouldn't fault you on taking Kenneth Walker because I do think that's a fluid tier, regardless of who you go with.
Yeah, I agree. I would maybe, see how long Walker might last by talking to some of your league mates. Like, is he going to be there at 104 or something like that? In that case, maybe you want to trade down. But if you don't want to get too cute, I wouldn't take Kenneth Walker over Drake London, but it is not, outlandish.
Yep. No, I agree with that. Here, where do we leave? Also traded Fournette, Logan Thomas, and 505 for Bateman, Irv Smith, in the 312. More than fine with that. I would rather, Bateman over Fournette. And then, like, the rest of the package is just like a wash anyway. So just give me Bateman side.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like ordering food while we're doing this.
You're calm.
Actually starving. I haven't eaten anything.
I haven't either. Is Hurts a risky second round Dynasty startup pick? Yeah, there's risk there, but there's also
he's definitely risky. But I don't mind. Like, once you get into like the late second, once Pitts, Andrews, the main young running backs, some of the wide receivers like Lamb and some of those guys, AJ Brown and Higgins, I'm cool pulling the trigger on Jalen Hurts around like the 210 area.
Yep. Do you guys do like one-on-one fantasy consultations? I'll let you plug it.
They're actually linked in the description of all of our videos. So if you guys are ever interested in doing a one-on-one consultation, you can choose to do it via email, which is just $10. You can do it with one of us, whatever one you prefer, and you can also just do one with both of us, and that's $10, $30, and $50 respectively.
Yep. ETN was just medically cleared for OTAs and all offseason work. Let's go.
I'm gonna be dangerously high on ETN from a redraft perspective.
If he's gonna be like a round 5 redraft pick, I'm taking him there every single time.
Like, if I can start my drafts with 2 wide receivers, Saquon Barkley and Travis Etienne, like,
I don't think you'll need to even take ETN in the 4th. I think he's gonna be a 5th.
Okay, well, if I could start my draft with, let's say I have, like, I'm trying to think, where does Barkley go? Early third?
Third round, like 27th pick. I want to say this is underdog ADP.
Okay, so I would need an early first round pick then. So if I can snag Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or Cooper Kupp with my first pick, on the way back get AJ Brown or DK Metcalf or whoever's going kind of in that next
Debo, CD,
maybe Debo, CD, yeah, and then snag Barkley, and then on the back of the end of the 4th get ETN. Be pretty insane.
That's what we call money in the bank. We actually got another super chat. Wow, you guys are rolling it in today from Ethan, $10 super chat. He says, these super chats got me inspired. Loved the effort you guys put into these videos, fellas. Appreciate that a ton. Yeah, we got a whole week of studly content coming your way, so stay tuned for that. As I always say, pretty much.
Yeah, have we decided exactly what we're doing this week? This is usually like an off-camera conversation, but we did have.
We had mentioned it.
We mentioned, do we want to do our dynasty rankings? Like, that's what I was thinking. It was like go through position by position and go through like our top 10s or whatever. See what's changed after the draft.
We could do that, and I would say early June is when we should maybe do our way too early redrafts.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because a lot of people are gonna be drafting best ball and be getting their best ball mania 3 entries. They may want to know our redraft rankings as well. So I'd be down to both of those.
Always do. If you guys ever have ideas for videos, you want to see us do something specific, then feel free to leave it in the comments. Reach out to us on Twitter, Discord, whatever, and just suggest it. I've made a number of videos that have been suggested by you guys.
Wyatt, that's not nice. You can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't do that. That's so rude.
Dude, Saquon Barkley at the 5.0, what is that? 5.06?
5.08.
Something 5.08? Like, that is ridiculous. Like, I might have to. You kind of inspired me to get Barkley back up into my rankings.
Guys, why are you forcing me to take running backs?
Because Cam Akers? Are you going to take Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins?
I was going to take Dobbins and Akers.
Yeah, those guys are they're interesting, man. We do this shit every year though with these young running backs. We're like, oh, like I would just especially from a redraft perspective, we're like, oh, I would just rather have Cook. I know he's going to get the volume. I know, what I'm getting, but we see every year these young running backs take a step forward. Unfortunately for Dobbins and Akers, it would have probably happened last year, but they both got injured.
Why are you guys forcing me to take running backs? I never have had to experience that.
That's an awesome start though. I love that.
I'm pretty hyped. Yeah.
Yeah.
if I knew I was going to get running back value to fall to me, I probably would have taken Deontay over DJ for the year one potential. But I mean, I really like how I structured this thing. Where did we leave off here, by the way? Just checking.
He said, yeah, I'd love a late draft Hail Mary picks vid. Yeah, I might do that solo just because, like, I don't want to spend, like, both of us on a video talking for 40 minutes about, like, irrelevant players probably seems kind of useless. But if I make a 10 to 15 minute video about it, quickly rattle off some scenarios in which these players hit, then that would definitely make some sense for sure.
By the way, fantastic pick, Bateman 604.
If I love that Wyatt's is done with his team in general, to be honest.
I think he smashed this. Like, looking at, especially on 1.5.
He's building like a me team. He's got Lamar 104. He's got a running back in the second round, which you would never do. George Kittle there. I probably I'm of the mindset that, like, I think taking an early tight end is something that I'm probably not likely to do unless I get great value on it, which, I mean, I think Kittle at that value is probably really good.
Well, you know, in our League of Tone Setters, he fell to me at the 409. And when I saw that, I'm like, 1.5 tight end premium Kittle, the 409. That's like absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's absurd. In a tight end premium, Pitts #1 should be the first non-quarterback off the board.
Agreed.
Mark Andrews should be probably a
early second
pick, early second pick, and Kittle should probably go late second or early third.
Yep,
is where I'd probably value those guys. I wanted to run this idea by you, but we can do it, I guess, on camera here. I think I talked about it already with you, but did you want to add potential pick value, like 2023 and 2024 pick value to our rankings, so that, when you guys are looking at, let's say, our quarterback rankings, for example, you could see that we value Josh Allen as for 2023 first plus or something like that. And then as you go down the rankings, obviously the tiers will kind of dictate themselves, because there'll be a big tier of quarterbacks that's worth like 1 first, for example.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's something easy we can add to our rankings manifesto that would probably help a lot of you guys out when it comes to looking for trades. And I know Ron, I don't want to just like completely rip off his idea for his Patreon, but like I know he actually lists like who is a hard sell for him, who is a soft sell for him, who's neutral, who's a buy for him, kind of thing like that. I'd love to be able to do something like that without completely ripping off that idea, but
that's facts.
Yeah, James White was actually so good in 2019.
Dude, like, he's so undervalued because of the volatility, because of the injury history, because of the age. But I mean, you're shooting for darts, you're shooting for upside. Like, he can have 70 receptions next year and nobody would bat an eye. So yeah, like we always say, or like I always say, if I'm drafting, I'm going for either value accrual or cost-effective production. And James White's the perfect example of cost-effective production. You can bring him onto your team as like your RB5, and you could have RB3 type of value for you in season. Also, a little shout out here, currently 90 concurrent viewers in the stream. I mean, 17 likes. That's a little despicable.
That's pitiful, boys. That's pitiful.
That's a little despicable. Let's see those numbers ramp up. I just want to say, though, appreciate you degenerates hopping on with us on a random Monday. Long weekend.
Victoria Day here in Canada. I don't think it's actually a holiday in the United States. I could be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys have a holiday today? Is that what's going on? Because I know we had a holiday, so that's why most people are off work and all that kind of stuff.
By the way, what's up, Cobra Kai? I got 2 second rounders at 1, 3rd, and 4th next year, and a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks in 2024, and all my picks in 2025. Okay. So how many players? Here, DM.
Do you still have your first? Do you still have your first? Because I mean, the team's looking a little rough if you don't have your first.
Here, Philip. Okay? I'll quickly flash our Twitters on the screen. Danny Football 59 if you want to reach me, at Football Stock if you want to reach Corey. Submit your team for Dynasty Decisions. Let's take a look and let's try to get you fully set up there. For your team. Also, since I'm filling up the chat box today, kill me. I see. Hey, there you go. Someone just brought it up.
That's why I brought it up, because I saw the comment already.
Appreciate that. Oh, you guys are sniping all my quarterbacks. That's not fun.
So Jay Heeb says, when I picked Cup, I knew I was stuck in a win now build. To see Heeb's 127 there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, if you, like I talked about in that how to build a contender video that I did, last week. If you do decide to make the early pick on a guy that's going to pigeonhole you into win now, and I would say that Christian McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp are the 2 easiest examples of that, along probably with the quarterbacks too, Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford, then you got to commit to that. And good on you. I think probably a bit early on Kelsey. I don't think I would take him even relatively close to that range. I'd probably be waiting until like round 6, round 7. It is a tight end premium. That's a little bit more value there, but Kelsey is probably somebody I will never select draft on, even if I'm going to win now. I just think he's going to be a 1-year player at best. Yep. And by midseason, if he gets hurt or something, he's going to have no value.
Makes sense. No premium at all. Okay, so we answered that. Thoughts on Tony Jones Jr. as a late round flyer in a PPR startup? I personally prefer Abram Smith. I think Abram Smith has a little bit more juice. I think Abram Smith is a younger player, and I think Abram Smith is, quite frankly, just a more efficient player than Tony Jones. So if I'm going to take, the fringe, volatile running back piece that maybe could earn some playing time for the Saints, I would take Abram Smith. Yeah. Have my rookie draft got London at the one. You smashed that shit. Let's go, Hudson.
Yeah. Beauty.
Wait, is that the team where you had like Jefferson, Chase, CD, AJ Brown, and shit? I remember we did a Dynasty Decisions.
Yeah, we did a Dynasty Decisions for Hudson. He had just like a fucking stupid team. Want your thoughts on a recent trade? He traded away Gibson, Claypool, and a 2023 second for Elijah Moore and a first. Okay, so the first, yeah, that's a win for you. Like the first cancels out Gibson for me. That's like I would take a straight up 2023 first over Gibson. And then Elijah Moore for Claypool and a second, like, is a pretty easy smash for me as well.
Also, Bush, look at the team I'm assembling right now. I don't even like Kenny Pickett, but at 7-12, I'm going to take him there every time.
Hey, you're pulling him. Well, I mean, not really with Justin Fields, but like Wyatt's actually pulling a me. He gets Lamar Jackson as his QB1, and he's probably going to have like, I guess Tannehill and Cousins are already off
all of them are gone, bro. It's gross.
They're classic. He went with Tom Brady. Yeah, it makes sense, I guess, if you're going to go for it.
Yeah, facts.
Now, Wyatt, I need you to take Jameis Winston next round because that's exactly what I would do in that situation.
Hey, Hudson, that's what we call you took that guy outside in the backyard, you showed him the surrounding, and you brought him in the woodshed.
Yeah, that's like the episode of The Sopranos when they go to like the woods or whatever. That's what he basically did.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron says, "Hey guys, always love watching the videos. Appreciate it. This is my first stream. Glad I could see this. Yeah, I know. We're always streaming at weird times. We have absolutely no rhyme or reason for when we stream. Because we all fade in running backs.
For real.
This is actually just like a collective fade of the running backs. Like, I mean, I don't like Dalvin Cook, but at the 6-3, if you're building a win now team, I don't hate it.
Yeah, genuinely. Like I love this room. I mean, dude, I just want to say, by the way, nice. Kenneth Walker 6'9" is very, very nice. I considered him at that 5'6" turn, but I mean Akers, like I couldn't take him over Akers, but I mean that, like I usually see Kenneth Walker going like the 4th round. So love our sharp room, letting running backs come at value instead of reaching ahead of ADP for them. Love that pick there. I mean, that's his hero RB. He got Elijah Mitchell to pair him, and you got a very nice young team to build around there with obviously the gold standard at tight end there with Jay Stump.
Yeah. I think the tough thing for me, I always find, is trying to provide advice across all league startup like format, because I am going to drop probably the rebuilding version, or maybe both of us can do that. Or if you want,
I definitely want.
Yeah, you should definitely be in on that one. Guys. So we'll probably drop the how to rebuild during a startup video. And the tough thing is knowing your league market, right? Like we talk about it all the time, but like it is really like hard for us to give you guys like blanket statement advice when we have no idea how your league is going to behave. So we try and tailor advice, generally speaking, to how most people value players. But in a league market like this, then, like the running backs are properly valued. They're not going too high. They're not going, in the 3rd, 4th round, like you'll see most people take them. So, it's all about knowing your league market, which is, again, a challenge for us to be able to kind of specify that, like, we're only saying this advice applies if the league market plays out how we think it will.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say, in a typical FSE mock draft league, Tone Setter's League's prime example, you're going to see the wide receivers and the quarterbacks be taken early like they should, and you're going to see running back value happen. If you're in your own personal micro league, obviously, if you're playing with, people you haven't met before, people that don't follow similar content to you, it's going to be hard to kind of gauge it. And typically in those league markets, the first like 3 or 4 deals really set the market in terms of what everybody kind of expects in terms of that specific league market. But like if you're used to playing with your buddies and how they draft and redraft, or how they like talk about players, like those little specific things about their personality, you can use that to influence that market. You could say, hey, listen, like I know where you're kind of at on this player. I know where you're kind of at this position. So listen, I got this guy on the board. Come up and get him. Who needs those, future picks? Come get your guy. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, come get your guy Twitter, come get your guy,
Oh,
YouTube,
that's the
come get your
worst.
guy content is the worst thing. Because I get it from a redraft standpoint. You want to reach a little bit ahead to go get a guy that you're very, very high on from a micro perspective. For sure, no problem. Because let's be honest here, the trading and redraft isn't as prevalent as it is in Dynasty. However, if you're a go get your guy in Dynasty, don't be. You're missing out on value. And value is what we need to assemble monsters to dominate our leagues for years and years and years.
Yeah, and I in redraft, for what it's worth, I probably trade more in redraft than I do in Dynasty, because like the second any of my players have good weeks, I'm looking to see what I can get for them.
Dude, I wish in my main home redraft league, guess how many total trades there were this year?
I don't know, like 5.
Yeah, you know why?
What's that?
People are scared to trade with me.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
People are scared to trade with me.
So I've officially burned all my bridges after this year. Because I traded. So half my league was like of that mindset. They're like, I'm not trading with you. You won last year. And most of the reason I won the first time was because I made a trade that secured me Alvin Kamara, and he scored, 6 touchdowns on Christmas. So nobody wanted, some of the guys that like the sharper players in my league, they just would like refuse to trade with me. Like I could like fully overpay for somebody. They were just like, I'm not trading with you. They think I have some lucky, thing that like if I trade for a player, he's just gonna pop off. I'm like, there's nothing about it. Like I'm just trading for him based on like usage, and I'll be like completely transparent with him. It's like the reason I'm trading for him is because his usage went up the past couple weeks, whatever the case is, and they'll be like, no, I'm not trading with you. So I had to go and try and trade with some of the other guys that I hadn't necessarily traded with as much over the past couple years.
Corey's targeting the newbies. No,
I wasn't targeting the newbies. They've been in the league just as long as the other guys. They're just not necessarily as sharp as the other guys. So that's how I was able to secure AJ Brown this year in that trade. I traded Claypool and Noah Fant for him.
So. Yeah, no. Jesus.
But Claypool. At the time, AJ Brown was injured, right? And nobody knew what the fuck he was, what was going on with him. And I also traded for Pitts using some questionable shit as well.
Corey, are you a shepherd by chance?
Yeah, because I was, corralling all the sheep.
Well, I was just gonna say because all you're doing is fleecing.
Yeah, I was corralling on the sheep is what I thought you were going there. So many good wide receivers in round 6 to 8. Yeah, just if like I said in that contending video, if you can somehow like trade down from your second or your third round pick up a 4th rounder and get like a 6th rounder for a 9th rounder or something, and get an extra bullet in that honey hole of win now wide receivers, like. If you can walk away with like Mike Evans and, Michael Thomas out of a trade versus like just taking DK Metcalf or just taking, Devontae Adams or a receiver like that, that's just such good value on those guys. Because from a redraft perspective, I can make a pretty easy case that those guys are going to have very comparable production.
I'll quickly add to that too. One of my favorite moves that I make in startups is I'll get my my one cornerstone asset. And again, if I'm picking outside of the top 10, usually I like getting up into that range. Or if I'm outside the top 10, I trade back from, the 10th or 11th overall pick. So if I'm in that top 10, I love getting, your Kyler Murray, your Lamar Jackson, set it and forget an asset that you love. Second round is where I'm looking to trade down. And one of my favorite moves is trading from the second into like that 4th, 5th area, trying to get, a rookie first and a second or move like that, where I can accumulate value and still get, realistically from a relative standpoint. Let's say you're moving down from, DeAndre Swift or AJ Brown or Jalen Hurts or whatever, and you're moving down to this 4th round area. I don't think there's a huge difference between one of these guys versus, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, guys like in this range. So typically if I can get, a 2023 one attached to that, maybe a 2023 two, if you're hopeful, that's the type of move I'm looking to make when I'm on the clock, because ultimately here you have to understand those value ranges. You have to understand your draft honeypots, if you will, and try to stack and accumulate as many picks as possible in that range.
Yeah, for sure. Cobra Kai says, in my current startup, I traded my 5 and 6 for a late second. 13 QBs were off the board already, and Lance was still there.
For Lance, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, for Lance, I'm fine with that. A 5th and a 6th. I mean, again, you're talking probably some decent wide receiver talent there with, guys like Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore going in this area in this draft, for example. And then same goes for in the 6th round. You get like a Elijah. But would I trade Elijah Moore and Rashad Bateman right now for Trey Lance? Yeah, I would.
Side note, I'm gonna quickly skip ahead. We'll get back here. Jared, this is like the classic move I love fucking doing. like if you take this deal, you absolutely took this to the woodshed. You got a 4th, a 7th, a 2023 1 and 2, just to move down from the 212. Realistically, if you're looking at it, 212 here was AJ Brown. 407 in this draft was Traylon Burks. The difference between AJ Brown and Traylon Burks, are we saying, is 706 was Ryan Tannehill. Traylon Burks, Ryan Tannehill, 2023 1 and 2 for AJ Brown. I'm taking the package all day, every day.
Yeah, dude, that guy's a sheep who gave it. Why did he have to give you? I would have probably I'm probably wouldn't have taken it just for the 4th and the 7th, but if you threw on like a 2023 second, like not even the 1st, I'd be like, that's pretty good. Like, I don't know. I might have actually done that by itself, but the fact that you got a 1st on top of that is also pretty crazy.
For sure. And we actually quickly got another Super Chat 499 from Hunter. Appreciate that a ton. He says, would you trade 2 random 2023 firsts for Debo? I have 4 2023 first. Seems pricey. I agree with you. I would hold those first. I like Debo, but he holds a lot of risk. He holds a lot of volatility. Those first, I mean, realistically,
how many wide receivers are you trading 2 firsts for in general?
Period. Outside of the only, like, I wouldn't trade 2 2023 firsts for CD, and I love CD.
And he's your 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only, and again, this is what we're definitely
assuming the random.
Again, we're going to add this to our Dynasty Rankings manifesto because it seems like a good idea. Even 2 late firsts, I probably don't trade for any wide receiver.
Okay, genuinely speaking, after Deshaun Watson and Dak, like, are there any other pieces, period? Maybe Trey Lance too. Are there any other pieces, period, that you would trade 2 2023 first for? Because there wouldn't be for me.
Yeah, like I'd probably, the highest I'd go on those running backs is a 1st and a 2nd.
2023 1 and 2, yeah.
I don't think I would trade 2 1s for now, those running backs.
If you were to say, yeah, both of these 2023
tight end premium, I would trade 2 firsts for Mark Andrews as well.
Again, like if you're in a league where you can like guarantee those firsts are going to be late, sure, it's probably about equal then. But if you're saying,
so these are going to be valuable, even if they're late, they're still
exactly
top 10 picks.
But I'm saying, like, you would have to guarantee that both of those would be like 110 to 112, which is tough because as soon as you throw the word random here, I'm thinking about potential, top 3 round startup assets that can be taken next year. I think by this time next year, if Kayshon Boutte goes out and puts up a 1,200-yard, 15 touchdown season and is a top 10 draft pick, he is going to be a top 30 startup pick. Same thing can be said for Addison.
I think you can make the argument that there's going to be 6 or 7 guys in next year's class that are going to be top 3 round startup picks. I think all 3 wide receivers definitely have the chance to do it. Both quarterbacks have the chance to do it. Maybe even another if another quarterback emerges. And Bijan will be a 1st round startup pick this time next year. Yep. And I would say that there's probably a good chance that some of the other running backs have a chance to sneak around that like 3-4 turn type of area.
For sure. So I'll let you go back to the comment that we left off. I just wanted to skip ahead and show.
Yeah. So Jay says pure win now build for me. Yeah, he went real win now there with he's just smashing Juju and Cooper and a bunch of guys that are gonna make me sick. But at this point in the draft, I don't mind it. The more I do these drafts, the more I like having a stud tight end. Also glad to see y'all finally like my draft. Yeah, you definitely. The only thing with having a stud tight end is that I would rather wait a couple rounds and grab, one of the like Goddard types because I think the ceilings are relatively comparable for him and Kittle. I know that's like maybe a hot take, but from a fantasy perspective, I think the ceilings are relatively comparable. Yeah, Kittle's going to give you more production for sure, but the discrepancy in elite assets in that territory of the draft, I think is worth skimming over the tight end position. I have never really been a guy who likes to grab tight ends early in redraft or dynasty.
Corey, I fucking love my team in this draft.
Yeah, your team is really good. I really like it too.
Dude, this is actually nuts. I like if like a Hunt had fallen to me here, it probably would have been perfect. You just sub him with like Wandale, even though I like Wandale. But like I love the way I structure this. Super fragile at the running back position. You still got upside here. You build up your quarterback room, and then those wide receivers in a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex league is very, very nice to have that type of depth. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
This brought up an interesting thought for me. So he says you offer someone 4 firsts for Allen, they're probably smashing. What would you guys prefer we do in the rankings manifesto? Or we could even do both things. Would we want to their value on the open market, like what we would pay for them, and then also the value we would need to trade them away? Because those 2 numbers might differ, right?
Because, they definitely would.
Yeah, because if you told me the open market value on Josh Allen is 3 firsts, I would need 4+ to trade him. You know what I mean? Like that might be like the difference there.
Exactly. What a weird draft. I drafted in order: quarterback, wide receiver, running back. Where were we? Oh yeah, quarterback, wide receiver, running back.
Oh yeah, just fully like filled out his starting lineup with that draft.
Traded 2022 picks 101, 106, and 201 in the late 2021 for Eckler and Chase. Thoughts? So, I mean, if we're equating Chase is probably, I'm going to keep it a buck. Chase is probably all
101 and
those
a
ones.
2023 first, I would say, is enough for Chase.
At minimum, I would probably say all 3 ones.
I wouldn't give up 3 ones for Chase.
You wouldn't? Okay.
If one of those picks is the 101, no.
What about 101, 201 in the late 2023 first?
Well, Danny, if you were in a startup and you were picking 108, 109, 110, and somebody offered you the 20, where did Brees go?
302.
If someone offered you the 302 in a 2023 first, would you do it?
No.
No? Okay, so you might need to maybe throw the 201 on top of that then?
Then I'm maybe thinking. Like,
I think this is pretty fair overall. However you slice this, I think Eckler and the 106 are probably about. I'd probably rather have Eckler even slightly, but
I'm fine going for the Eckler and Chase side easily.
Yeah, I like the Eckler and Chase side if you're a competing team, which looks like you are.
Memorial Day is the 30th for us. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I thought Memorial Day was. Am I crazy? Did I not think Memorial Day was the weekend of like fantasy drafts, like Labor Day weekend for us?
I don't know.
That's what I thought it was.
Where do y'all live? So we currently live in Ontario. About an hour apart. I'm not sure if you guys know Ontario, but I'm in Hamilton, which is about an hour away from Toronto, and Corey's in a little KW action.
Yeah, which is also about an hour away from Toronto, just in like a different direction.
Different direction, yeah.
Yeah.
We get Memorial Day next Monday. Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. So Memorial Day sounded familiar to me. Someone's gonna have to remind me what the holiday is at the beginning of September. What weekend that is? If it's Labor Day for you guys, I'm not sure. Maybe it is also Labor Day. Yep. Only a holiday for us Canucks. Big facts. Would you move DJ Moore for Dobbins? I have no running backs of substance, and my current wide receiver room is Elijah, Tony, Ayuk, Metcalf, CDT, Higgins. So you got a very good wide receiver core, obviously, and you have 6 ones.
My brother, you have 6 ones next year. Just go and compete next year. That's my advice.
I don't mind this trade still. I think
I don't mind it, but I'm not doing it given the volatility, given the risk in May. Maybe if no changing circumstances happen in September and you want to make this move, I'm fine with it then. But there is way more likelihood of Dobbins value going down during the summer.
Right. Yeah, I would.
I
agree with that too. I don't think I would do it yet because there's a chance that you might not even have to pay DJ Moore for him. You could maybe get him for Ayuk or somebody like that.
Yeah. 12 team full PPR. Yep. A 16 team Superflex 2 quarterback max league 3rd round reversal. Holy crap. Would you wait on quarterbacks? If it's a 16 team Superflex, there's no chance I'm waiting on quarterbacks. No chance.
Superflex. Why do you guys like pain?
Dude,
sounds like you guys just fully enjoy pain.
You're going to be left with like Desmond Ridder as your quarterback too if you wait.
Yeah, that's like brutal. I think I would like absolutely secure 2. Like I think you just have to go quarterback your first 2 picks.
Well, like let's just say your 12th pick, and then if it's
a 3rd round reversal too. So if you're picking early and you get an elite quarterback, like you are getting scraps after that. Like it's gonna be bad.
You're taking like Jameis
as your QB.
I was about to say that
round.
You're taking like 3rd round Jameis. Would you say quarterback age is often? Yeah, I would agree with that because longevity at the quarterback position is.
I don't take a lot of thought into quarterback age personally. I'm comfortable taking
tiebreaker maybe.
And pardon?
Like as a tiebreaker, sure. Like if you have
like it's the same reason I would never draft ever Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields over Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford. I would just never do that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What's up, guys? Just joining. Oh, Jay. Oh, no.
If you're so productive struggle that you have to punt for like multiple years down the road, I understand the move, but I still wouldn't do it.
Jay, no. What would you relate Elijah Moore to in relative 2020? Like you would probably need that
first and a second.
At least, right?
Moore. Not at least. I think that's about fair.
I probably would just rather more at that cost. If I would have had this start in my real start, yeah, for real, you crushed that shit, Jay Stump. Yeah. I did get Jameson Williams at the 110 in my rookie draft. Love that. I just got the boy out of Penn State, Dawson at the 108, and Love at the 107. Those 3 stud receivers.
Add those 3 receivers, yeah.
Excellent work there. I have TJ Hawkinson at tight end with Pat Freiermuth as a backup. I also have a Monra on the same team in flex. I trade Hawkinson since the Lions passing game. And now I don't really follow that narrative to a degree because I mean you have talented players that are going to earn targets on their own right. However, given the fact that you do have Freiermuth, I would be fine with gauging your league market in terms of what they're offering for Hawk.
Yeah, I agree. I think tight end's just a position, and this is the reason I don't take them early. Tight end, I think, is the least predictable position in fantasy. We have an idea of who's going to be like getting targets and all that kind of stuff, and I think Hawkinson's a good bet to be one of those guys. But I think the position's volatile in general. So if you can, transition Hawkinson to a more secure asset, like a young wide receiver, like in our draft here, it was tight end premium. I don't know if this is a tight end premium, but TJ Hawkinson went right after Garrett Wilson and right before Devontae Smith and Elijah Moore. I would rather have any of those three wide receivers, Jameson Williams included, who went right after that, and Bateman, Marquise Brown. I would rather have all those receivers over TJ Hawkinson, especially considering you have Freiermuth as your other guy.
Thoughts on
having the Burrow, Chase, and Higgins stack in a
not
PPR.
risky.
Why would it be risky? You got yeah. I would say though, like, is there a chance that those guys go down in value after this season?
Not really.
Because they're just like on cloud 9 right now. They were just in the Super Bowl. Burrow wasn't actually that great from a fantasy perspective. Like, is there a chance that people are like come down to earth midway through the season? They're like, right, this guy shouldn't be higher than Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson in Dynasty because he's not going to outperform them.
Objective analysts have already acknowledged that, though.
For sure. But like, I'm just saying, I feel like that stack will be at peak value right now. And I'm not saying to sell it or to fucking, dismantle or whatever, because I would love to own that stack. And I don't currently even own Burrow plus one of those guys, let alone both of them.
Yep.
I just think it'd be interesting to see how much you could get on the open market for that stack.
Yep.
Or, pieces of it.
Would you trade a 2033 likely late first for Kelsey? I already own Pitts and 3 other. Wait, so why would you trade for Kelsey if you?
I would just hold Pitts and keep your first.
As Danny said, running back is big facts. My little 3 years in a real estate program brought me to that analogy, but glad that it's got some translatability there.
Well, I was thinking too, when I was thinking about how I would, do the rebuilding video, because I mean, to give you guys a behind the scenes of like my process, when I do videos like that are like macro based or just like ideas that I had, I just like get into a Google Doc and just start writing shit down. And like, sometimes you'll hear me like make an analogy or whatever. It's because I just like thought of it. And one of the things that I thought of when you're building a rebuilding team in a startup is, I mean, I'm sure you agree with this too. You don't have any production early on, right? You're not thinking about production. You're thinking of like a bond portfolio that matures in 2 years, right? Yeah. And you're thinking, what can increase in value from now to 2 years from now?
In general, people fail to realize, and again, this is why I feel like I should be on that video too, is because like I am the rebuild type of guy, and
I will definitely bring you in on that video. I will admit you are more of the rebuilding guy than I am.
But the reason why is because I mean, people love Dynasty, but they focus way too much on the players, if that makes sense.
And you should to some degree. Like if you're building a
to some degree,
team, you need that micro analysis to determine, who you're going to go after and stuff. But I mean, if you play it right, like you might never have to be in that position, because the ideal position to be in fantasy, in Dynasty specifically, is you have a young competitive team with future assets to continue to replenish it. And your team is dominant and in their primes. You don't have to worry about, maybe you have one odd like Keenan Allen on your roster, but for the most part, your team is made up of young studs like AJ Brown and DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor and Josh Allen and Kyler Murray, like guys like that are both in their primes and still young.
And it's funny because like I feel like I've built some monsters and it's fun building monsters, but it all depends on those type of values that you can find. Now, when I'm saying values that you can find, not from a micro level, but from a market inefficiency standpoint. For example, I'll just like bring up our listener league from last year. Elijah Moore was a top 35 overall NFL draft pick with an elite type of profile, like a phenomenal profile coming out of
outside
college.
Of like if he was 6'1", 210, he would have been a top 10 NFL draft pick legitimately with the production that he had.
Right. And with that, I got him in the 9th round of our startup last year. If we were to do our startup this year, knowing the information we know, knowing the prospect profile that Elijah Moore had, I mean, he's probably going round 6 at the latest.
Yeah, it's
right?
pretty ridiculous. Sorry, my food is here, so my
You're
dog is
good.
barking at my door.
You're good. I'll take care of some comments. Where did we
Yeah,
leave
I'm
off?
gonna get rid
Okay,
of
I
it
got
real
it.
quick.
Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. Do you guys consider him a league-winning tailback? I consider him the league-winning tailback. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, he is relatively 20+% more valuable than any single other running back in fantasy. So to answer that question, Christian McCaffrey is my 101. My hometown redraft league, not a soul will trade with me because yeah, dude, it's exhausting and it sucks because it's like you fuck with your friends, but at the end of the day, like if they're not trading with you, if they don't want to deal with you, it just diminishes your own experience on a fantasy football level. Why also low on Juju? Just wondering. I'm honestly not like terribly low on Juju. You could ask Corey that question. I'll like remember this question. I'll bring it back to him. But I only have him like 5, 6, 7 spots, maybe. I don't know exactly what consensus is, but I think he's a fringe top 48 type of wide receiver for me in Dynasty. So I'm not like egregiously low on him. However, I mean, he's inefficient and he's getting propped up by his landing spot would be the easy answer to that. I don't mind him though. Like round 10, round 11 is probably where I'd feel comfortable there. Speaking of the Juju hater, he's in the backstage. I'll let him answer that.
So me and Danny did this when we were updating our rankings that I'm like just criminally low on
Yeah.
Juju. I was like, okay, I'm being a little like unfair now at this point. So I did move him up like 50 spots in my top 200, and I also moved him up about 10 or 10, 12, something like that
15
spots at wide receiver too. So why am I so low on Juju? I just don't think he's a good player. I don't think that he's going to be efficient with his targets each year. His yards per route run, his target share, his targets per route run, all that kind of stuff has gone down every year that he's been in the league. He was once a very, very efficient, very talented second year and rookie wide receiver, but since then he's just not been efficient. So is he going to be efficient now in the Pittsburgh, not tethered to Big Ben? Like, is Big Ben the problem? It definitely could be a big contributing factor, but I also don't think Juju helped himself either. Because Deontay Johnson was still efficient with his Big Ben targets. Chase Claypool, especially as a rookie, was efficient with his Big Ben targets. So I don't think it's as simple as saying now he has Mahomes, so he's going to be back to the old Juju. But I do admit that I was a little too low on him. So 9th, 10th round, like Danny said, is perfectly fine with me.
Sorry, my bad. I was responding to a DM. First time commits. I have some people wanting to do max PF to determine rookie picks. I agree. Any non-playoff teams should be sorted by the least potential points. What that does is it decreases the variance for when people set their lineups. You have blow up weeks on your bench and shit like that. That's going to happen. For me personally, the reason why the team with the lowest max potential points should get the first pick is because that usually symbolizes a lack of talent on their roster, not poor management decisions. So to put it simply, the 6 non-playoff teams, again, playoff teams should be sorted by the order you finish. I will always say that. You go in as the 6th seed and you somehow make it to the final. Guess what? You have the 11th pick. Sucks to suck, but that's how it works. It's true though, right? Like you made it to the championship. You had a chance to win the championship. That is well worth going from the 107 to the 111.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened to me. I made the playoffs because Murdoch lost too. I got in week 17 or in week 15, whatever the final week of the season was.
Yeah.
And I ended up making it to the finals because Debo and Mark Andrews and Devontae Adams just decided to go bonkers the entire playoffs.
Which, by the way, I think I gave you both Debo and Mark, right?
Bro, I started Sam Darnold in the fantasy title because I didn't. My quarterbacks were all hurt. Tannehill was hurt. Justin Fields was hurt. Like everybody was hurt. I had to start Sam Darnold.
Give me one second.
And I still almost won because Mark Andrews and Debo and Adams were that good.
It's so funny because I remember at the beginning of the offseason, like we made a deal and everybody on Twitter liked my side and ended up being like Debo, Mark Andrews, fucking plus and everything for AJ Brown. It's just like, fuck, man.
Yeah, everybody was like, AJ Brown's worth that package. And then I ended up just absolutely fleecing Danny in that one. But yeah, I agree, Ethan, with what Danny said. If you're not in the playoffs, I think max points 4 is the best way to do it because I actually did not get the first pick in the rookie draft. Nice. Danny's just drinking at 12:30 in the afternoon. But I actually did not. I got the 103 in one of my leagues that I was tanking in, And it's because I just happened to scrape out 3 wins at the beginning of the season because
That's ridiculous.
I had Sam Darnold, who was actually good the first couple weeks, right? He was actually like a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And I somehow still like got the 3rd overall pick, and I had the least points for by a wide margin as well.
Yeah.
So I got stuck with the 103 instead of the 101. So I was pretty pissed when I found that out that we
Yeah,
were, because I just assumed that's how we were doing it, because that's
potential,
how I've
yeah.
always done it in my leagues. But when I saw that I had the 103, I'm like, what the fuck? I had the lowest max points for. And they're like, well, that's not how we determine things. I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
That's whack to me, yeah. No, it's eliminating as much variance as possible in those type of things is always going to be my preference. So I agree with you there. Juju has MVS and Sky Moore there. Yeah, no, I MVS not as much, but Sky Moore I think is a legitimate prospect. I kind of mentioned Elijah Moore. I mean, Sky Moore would be like the B plus blueprint to what Elijah Moore was as a prospect last year. You know, lower draft capital, you know, relatively same production, but in a lower type of, competitive setting. The landing spot's super nice. There was opportunity for Elijah Moore, and Sky Moore is what, a 7th, 8th round type of pick. Like Elijah Moore probably would have been a 6th. We'll go down quickly. Another $5 super chat. I appreciate that ton. Word, thanks guys for the advice. Anytime there, Ethan. Again, appreciate that $5 super chat. It means a lot. Hit the DMs if you ever want anything personal. If you ever want anything, like straight to us, our DMs are open, Discord, Twitter, etc. Ask us any questions you need. Where do we leave off here?
We got to Jared's question already. Gotcha. We both agree with Cobra Kai here. Matt says, okay, so we already answered that, but yeah, we would shop Hawkinson if you can.
Yep, I just made a trade in my Dynasty League, traded Gibson for ETN, the 109. Dude, you smash it. I would take I
would rather have ETN straight up.
Straight up, yeah. A great deal there, Kyle. In my latest startup, I was able to trade down and up a lot. My team turned out to be Watson, Stafford, Cousins, Gibson, Dillon, Rojo, Metcalf, Tyreek. I like how you made that. I like how you formed that team. I think you went fragile at the running back position, but you still got relative production there. Metcalf, Tyreek, Godwin, Terry, etc. There's a very good receiving core, and you're still able to get a quarterback core and tight end to really complement this team. I like what you were able to do there.
Yeah, if you're gonna go with a fragile RB, you better be strong at the other positions, and you definitely are. So, definitely like how you built that out.
Exactly.
Hunter says, "Okay, thanks guys, appreciate it. No worries. What would you trade Dak away for? 2 firsts? That's probably about the price.
Probably about that. Yeah. Even as a Dak fan, like if you're rebuilding and you can get 2 2023 first, you turn one of them into a Young or a Stroud, and then you turn the other one into one of those top receivers or a running back. I think that's about appropriate for Dak.
Yep.
I guess complete the draft. Could you do a bit of a who drafted best and worst and why? So I could, so I mean, we could look at that right now. Actually, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I'll let Corey take it away mostly with the early teams because like I'm a little bit biased because I'm in the room. But I will say I do love how I structured this team.
Okay, so yeah, Danny, I'll stroke his ego a little bit. I love what he did with his team. We can move on to the next one. I will say with Jay Heaps, we kind of already touched on it already. I would have tried to maintain flexibility longer than you did by taking AJ Brown instead of Cooper Kupp. And is AJ Brown going to outscore Cooper Kupp? Hell the fuck no, not this year. But AJ Brown has 5 years of age, doesn't have the longevity concerns. So I would have tried to stay a little bit more flexible, a little bit more fluid. You can always pivot to a win now in round 4 or in round 5. Maintaining that flexibility is the key for me when it comes to building win now teams. So I probably wouldn't have done that as early as you did, but I don't, totally blame you for how the team turned out. As far as I love what Wyatt did with Team 4. I don't even need to kind of go over that. He got good value on Swift. He got good value on Kittle and a tight end premium, and he just hammered the mid-round wide receivers. Got a good value on Montgomery as well. And I probably wouldn't have went with Wentz as my QB3, but I don't even think he really had much of a choice as far as who was still available because Jameis already went, even like Davis Mills and like other guys already went. I guess Wentz was probably the best available QB3 there for you. So I don't totally hate that.
Like Jay Stump did too.
Yeah, Jay Stump, we can look at his team. He built out a lot of flexibility early on. This is more so like a rebuilding type of team. I wouldn't want to have 2 second-year quarterbacks if I was trying to compete right away.
Yep.
So I think he kind of went more with like the rebuild mindset right from the jump. And I think probably one of the best assets to have in a rebuild, both of them actually, are the 2 that he started his draft with Pitts and Lance.
The only pick I probably would have, changed a little bit would be the Elijah Mitchell. He's a little bit lost on this team, in my opinion, especially if you're going for a young, compete 2023 type of team. If you had subbed that out for like a Darnell Mooney, I would have been even more happy. And then maybe, you got a Kareem Hunt later on instead. That's probably where I would have geared. But I mean, that's a micro analysis. That's a micro, difference. I think you did a good job structuring that team. Looking at the rest of the teams, what other team like stands out to you? Because I'm just looking at
I'm
the
gonna
whole
look.
board right now.
So I can't actually see what this guy's name is. The guy who picked that 110. It's Jake D. So
Okay.
I love the start. Jefferson, Javonte Williams.
Shirley and Chubb.
Again, a little too early on Chubb, and I also probably would have tried to maintain flexibility longer. And I also think you faded the QB position a little too much. I mean, you kind of got screwed by the fact that like the tiers of quarterbacks were kind of just not falling your way unless you would have gone with Trey Lance over Javonte Williams early on. But by the time you got to the 410, I mean, Zach Wilson just went off the board. Derek Carr just went off the board. There was a bunch of guys that you probably would have had to reach on if you went with a quarterback there. Like I think that's a bit too early for Tua, personally. I'm also not the biggest fan of taking Rodgers either.
And also, I wouldn't have taken Diggs over Higgins. Just pointing that. I know that's a micro thing, but
he didn't actually do that, did he? Oh wait, no, he didn't. Never mind. Sorry,
they're down reversal. But it's a tough point because clearly at that pick you're wanting a Carr to fall, a Wilson to fall. So the fact that they both went, you kind of had to pivot right on the spot because two was not worth that pick, and you're not going to reach on like a Rodgers type. I would have said though, once you knew you weren't going quarterback at the 410, I would have pounded. At that 6-7 turn, you got Mac Jones, but if you'd taken, a Tannehill with the other pick as well, and then gotten Jameis as your quarterback 3, I probably would have felt more comfortable. So if you replaced Judy with one of those other quarterbacks, I would have been a little more comfortable with the room there.
Yeah, if you had Cousins, Mac Jones, Jameis Winston as your quarterbacks, I think that's fine.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree there. Overall, I mean, nothing really like completely sticks out there unless you want to point something. We can.
The last one I would say is that on the McCaffrey pick, when you decided to pick McCaffrey, I would have fully committed a little bit more to the win now. So you did a good job with getting some other guys that are like win now type of pieces. With Tannehill, with Waller, with Kamara, with Metcalf, but I would not have taken Treylon Burks at 4-7 had I gone with Christian McCaffrey in the second round. I probably would have faded Burks for I guess Hill and those guys were off the board. I'm just looking who else he could have gone with. McLaurin or Pittman or somebody like that.
And I will quickly say too, I mean, kudos to Wyatt, but Elijah Moore at the 5'9" is criminal. It's criminal. Yeah. Is Kyle Trask gonna be no?
He meant Trask, but we knew what you meant. So yeah. I highly doubt it. I don't think he's a good enough quarterback to replace anybody, let alone the GOAT.
Honestly, your first comment was more realistic to what Kyle Trask is.
Yeah, exactly. I traded Russell Wilson, Curtis Samuel, and the 201 and a 2023 fourth for Stafford and the 103. So is Russ and Stafford a wash? I prefer Russ personally.
You prefer Russ, but like the worst thing you could say here is Russ is like Stafford in a second. Worst. And I would probably say it's more so like a third.
Yeah, and then get the 103 is by far the third best asset in this deal. Yeah, not even remotely close. I like Curtis Samuel, the 201 and the fourth for the 103. Like I'm easily taking the 103 there. Curtis Samuel, his own value is like a third, maybe mid to late third.
About a week ago, I traded Cook in the 201 for 6. Come on, man, you fleeced that guy.
I would have taken the 105 straight up for.
I would have taken Saquon straight up over Cook. So
yeah,
that's Labor Day in September. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I guess they do have
Labor Day as well.
Labor Day, a boat. I don't actually think we say that. Like I know we get made fun of all the time as Canadians for saying a boat, but I've never actually said that, and I don't think we say
I've never said it as well. It's kind of funny because I mean, like people love.
You have more of the Canadian accent than I do too.
Yep, agreed.
If I had this team in my startup last week instead of what I drafted, I'd be a lot less depressed than I am currently. True. 4 tight end, 12-team Superflex is the true gentleman's format. I would honestly leave that league in a heartbeat if there was more than I actually would never play even in a league that has 2 tight ends, like ever. In that startup, I did trade back from 106 and still got Deshaun a 2023 first, so still a W. That's definitely a solid move. Should I trade Chase Edmonds for 2/3 and Michael Carter? Yeah, I would do that. You get a younger running back, yes. You get 2 third-round picks that you can throw a dart on. I like that move.
Yep, in a heartbeat, I agree with that.
Just traded Sutton for the 108. Thoughts? I think that's almost like a dead even trade.
Wash. Yeah,
Yeah, I like almost value Sutton exactly at that range. Like pretty close. Maybe I would take Olave or Jameson Williams if they're there at the 108 over Sutton. I probably would. They're both ranked ahead of them in my dynasty rankings. But if you're a win now team, I think Sutton will definitely help you out this year.
Also, I'll just say one little shout out. Got in the DMs. Big old Corey. Let's go. Corey Van ended up dealing Montgomery for a 2023 1 and a 2024 2. A+ move right there.
Yeah, that's solid. Looks like we got a super if you want to roll down to that.
Appreciate that. 999 super chat from Fantasy Football Atomic. Appreciate that. He says, thank you for all the answers. Is there an argument to say year one should always be win now shirt unless your team just implodes? You never have this many proven players in the draft. You can always go young later. I would counter that. I think year one for me personally in a dynasty is always a productive struggle year.
Especially, I think especially when you do one this offseason, knowing the running back talent you can get in this year's upcoming class and probably in 2024 as well, then I kind of more so side with Danny as well. It all depends too. You want to make sure your league is going to last that long. So that's, first and foremost, but I don't typically try to go contender if possible.
Strictly from a game theory perspective and value accumulation perspective, when you're drafting for a year one productive struggle, you're already inherently gaining similar value, albeit less production to your league mates that are competing. However, the value in tanking year one, the value in being in a productive struggle year one, is the difference between having the 101 to 103 versus the 109 to 112 next year. That is a big, big difference. With Bijan, the quarterbacks, the receiver, whatever, who you want to put in that range, you're talking top 30 startup picks, a free quote unquote, extra top 30 startup pick added. Even if you're the most bullish on the guys in that 109 to 112 range, they're probably maxing out at like 7th round startup picks, 6th round startup picks, maybe at the absolute bull case. So inherently you're getting a huge jump, a huge addition to your team relative to the rest of your league mates while still having that comparable value from the startup. So you're theoretically getting a huge edge by boosting your own pick year one and potentially year two.
And I would say you're also limiting a lot of risk on your roster too, because the biggest source of your roster crumbling will be running back injuries or running backs getting replaced. So if you don't draft any running backs like Danny ever does, or if you just don't draft any volatile running backs, maybe you get a anchor like Javonte or somebody like that, then you're inherently just going to be probably better off. So I tend to agree, especially this offseason with the classes that we have coming up. I'm much more likely to go productive struggle year one, retool, maybe get an extra 2023 first during the startup or an extra couple 2023 first during the startup and try and secure what will be a top 10 startup pick in Bijan Robinson. He will be a top 10 startup pick this time next year, and he will probably be the RB1 also.
Yep. No, exactly. Bijan Robinson, I can guarantee you guys right now watching, he is going to be, God forbid, a catastrophic thing coming this year. I just knocked on wood for those of you that believe in superstition.
Texas fans, yes, thank you.
Our Texas fans believe in superstition, but he is going to be my dynasty running back one as soon as he goes in the draft, as soon as he's a top 20 pick, as soon as he's walking into a 20 to 25 plus opportunity per game type of role, which is the type of talent, the type of prospect that we're looking at here. We are not looking at, a change of pace, 15 efficient touches like Kamara. Like he can handle.
He's a 21-year-old version of Najee Harris with breakaway speed. What he is.
Who he reminds me of, like from what I've watched thus far, he reminds me of Prospect Zeke. Prospect Zeke went 4th overall. Prospect Zeke has been a top 5 running back in fantasy throughout the start of his career, pretty much. Prior to the last couple years, he was the gold standard of production, leading the league in rushing, scoring touchdowns, efficient offense. If Bijan Robinson became the next Zeke and you got league-winning type of production, at least throughout his rookie contract, that is rookie one or dynasty running back one, no hesitation, at 21 years old.
Yeah, I think I actually don't mind the comparison I just made. I think him and Najee Harris, from like a receiving standpoint, they had like similar chops coming out, except Najee was a senior and he didn't really have the greatest like breakaway ability. But I think Bijan is, obviously a lot younger than him, and he also probably has a little bit more juice. So I don't mind that. What do you think of Joe Mixon's value in a dynasty superflex?
4th round.
Yeah, 4th round. He's going in an area that I'll just never get him. if I'm trying to build a win now team, because where Joe Mixon goes is before I want to have to make a decision if I'm going win now. Same goes for Austin Eckler too. I just don't want to have to make that decision right then. So I will probably punt that, third tier of running back or second tier of running back. And I would rather take Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins in round 5 than I would Joe Mixon in early round 4, late round 3, because by the time I get to Cam Akers and J.K. Dobbins, I'll already have 4 locked and loaded, quarterback, wide receivers, and maybe a tight end or something like that.
All right. By the way, I will share my screen. I'll probably piss a good amount of you off by showing you this, but this is what we call a long-term productive struggle. So again, I was experimenting here. I kind of wanted to see how this team would look, but this is what we call a quote-unquote 2024 contender, right? So the only real main building blocks on this team thus far, your CeeDee Lamb, your Jameson Williams, Tyler Algier, Pat Freiermuth, Michael Gallup, Dotson, etc. there, right? Those are your main usable pieces right now. The rest of the team is complete wash, complete dog water. However, that's not where it ends. We also got, Alec Pierce, Calvin Austin, whatever on there. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2023 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4 2023 twos, 2 2023 threes, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2024 ones, and 4 2024 twos. So I know this isn't for everybody. People may not want to, have a dead quote unquote team for at least a year, but by 2024, this team may look like an absolute monster or may look like a flop. We'll know by then. I'll keep you guys updated with this thing.
Yeah, and a lot of that too is us trusting our ability to draft players and evaluate
and maneuver assets too.
Yeah,
because I know realistically, I have all that draft capital. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not making every single one of those picks.
Yeah,
right. So it's fun just understanding this first year is just a punt. Let's just accumulate assets. Let's accumulate value, and let's figure it out within the next couple of years. Because, if I maneuver this thing right, which I trust my ability to, that thing can turn into by far the best team in the league.
Yeah. Michael says people are way too low on Dotson and Bell because they aren't fast. Well, Dotson is fast. People thought he was going to run in the 4.3s at the combine. He ran 4.43 or something like that. I got Dotson in the 2nd and Bell in the 3rd. You got Bell in the 3rd round during my rookie draft. They're probably just as undervalued in redraft. Yeah, I'm going to, once we get, our over the border stuff, I'm going to be just hammering those guys in the mid round or the late rounds of Best Ball Mania drafts and stuff. Yeah, I think I more so agree with Matt. I think Dotson has been faded because of 1, his size, and 2, the fact that he is a senior and he was not an early declare, which, again, if you guys watch the video about the anatomy of wide receivers and wide receivers to target and avoid in your rookie drafts, you know that those 2 things don't necessarily matter that much. And also, fading a wide receiver because of landing spot is like a fool's errand. There's no point in ever trying to do that. It's worked out. We got an example every single year and sometimes multiple of wide receivers who were faded or knocked a little bit because of their landing spot. And it didn't matter because they were just better wide receivers than people thought.
Exactly.
And your boy CeeDee was the prime example in 2020.
Of what?
And Jefferson too. Both him and CeeDee and Jefferson were faded because of their landing spots.
Oh yeah. I remember. I remember that, dude. Which is so funny.
Too many mouths to feed in regards to a landing spot for a rookie wide receiver. Just honestly unsubscribe, unfollow. Just that person. They don't really. It's a valid argument on the surface. It makes sense, but it doesn't actually play out that way. You run routes, you get open, you get targets. That's how it works.
What I find funny is the people that thought CeeDee's landing spot was bad. Yeah, maybe there was target competition, but what is bad on playing on a top 5 offense with fucking Dak Prescott throwing you the football? Yeah. What is bad about that actual contextual landing spot?
Jameson Williams went to the Chargers or something, so people could be like, "There's too many mouths to feed there," or something, and be like, "Dude, it's Justin Herbert. What? Who cares?"
Who gives a fuck?
And people did it with Higgins too, right? We see time and time again that as soon as there's too many mouths to feed, people get all flustered. It's you don't realize that there's 600 plus pass attempts on most teams. Yeah. They can afford to have Jahan Dotson as a perfect example. If Terry McLaurin has a career high in targets this year, let's say he's 150, 160 targets this year, which he's never had in his career thus far, despite having no target competition for the most part. Jahan Dotson still has plenty of targets left to go and compete for.
people don't understand the concept of target concentration. There are some offenses where there's maybe only one mouth, quote unquote, to feed, but the quarterback will just spread the ball around to ancillary pieces. When you have
like the way you would describe the Packers offense,
the Packers, correct? You had your Adams, you had your locked in stud, and then like guys like who's going to be the Packers wide receiver 2? Nobody's going to be the fucking Packers wide receiver 2 because that's not how that Packers wide receiver core operates.
Change every week, and we saw the same thing with Antonio Brown during his prime too. Like Martavis Bryant had a bit of a run, but there was for the most part just kind of like up and down. Wide receiver 2s in that offense until Juju got there and the couple years of Martavis Bryant. Kyler and Debo no show at OTAs. That doesn't shock me. They're probably going to hold out for contracts.
Yep.
Just traded Tua for a 2023 first and second. Jesus Christ. Easy trade. Got a team with Watson and Lamar. Might have an opportunity to downgrade one of them to Hurts. Plus Justin Jefferson.
What?
I don't care. Honestly, Manuel? I don't care which one you trade away. I don't like
Manuel, go make that move. Justin Jefferson.
Which one do you move? Watson, right?
Yeah, obviously you move Watson because of the volatility, but I am fine with moving either for Hurts and Justin Jefferson.
That would be like somebody saying, I will give you my 109 in our startup for your 108, and I'll also give you my 205 or something, or 208 where Jalen Hurts is going. Like that to me is just a very, very easy trade to make.
Yep. Here, where are we?
One time I straight cut Rivers in his last season to ensure I didn't have a starting quarterback and could get the 101. Kind of sucked. I mean, you got to get there sometimes if you want to secure that 101. If my team looks weak, who should I start trading for draft picks or wait and see what happens during the season? It depends on what you mean by if my team looks weak. So if you look at your team and you see that a lot of your pieces have a chance, there's a downside risk attached to them that they could lose value. So for example, you have Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, guys that could lose value during the season if they get hurt or something, then I would trade them close to the season if you can before that kind of sets in. But if you say my team looks weak and you have a bunch of young players, then you don't necessarily need to trade away all your young players to secure draft picks.
Any quarterbacks you would say are sell highs?
Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence.
No, fuck off.
They are for me
every time. That's all you say. Not really, honestly, for me. I feel like the quarterback market as a whole is kind of priced appropriately to a certain degree.
The quarterback position is one of those positions that we are generally speaking pretty good at evaluating. Not us specifically, but like the Dynasty community, we're pretty decent at understanding what quarterbacks are going to be great for fantasy. The order might change for certain people, but that top tier of quarterbacks, like you can't tell me that they're not. Like you can't make the argument that Josh Allen's not an elite quarterback. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, even those like latter four that might have a little bit more of an argument for it. It's just pretty obvious to me that they're young quarterbacks. They have elite passing ceilings, some of them, and elite rushing ceilings on others.
By the way, I'll say one thing and then we'll get back to the comments. Can we just, like, the hockey lovers in this chat, can we just appreciate the greatness we're watching with Connor fucking McDavid?
Yeah.
Like, the Flames,
so off topic, but sure.
No, I know, but I just randomly thought about it because I scrolled on Twitter quickly. But this guy has 23 points in 10 games in the playoffs, and him and Draisaitl are basically just carrying the Oilers right now, potentially to the conference final. Ridiculous. We'll get back to the football comments, but I just wanted to say that because I mean we're legitimately watching a top 5 talent of all time, and like he's 25 years old.
Yeah, which is insane too. Like, he's got so much time left to play. It's like Sid in 2008 when we're like, dude, this guy's like got so much time left to play still.
When him and Ovi met in the playoffs back in the late 2000s, bro, and they were both like 21, 22 years old, it was nuts.
Yeah. Once I got Derrick Henry, I went win now. Yeah, that's a valid strategy. You pretty much have to once you draft that guy. ETN or 107 and Claypool. That's, I'd say, a relatively fair trade. I would rather have ETN than like any of the top end picks in this draft, like outside of London and Hall. I think I would take ETN 103 if he was in this draft class. So I would probably lean with ETN because I don't know if Claypool would be enough for me to move off of that pick down to 107 kind of thing if I was in a rookie draft right now and ETN was part of this class.
Agree with that. Would you trade McLaurin or Deontay Sky Moore in a 20? McLaurin or Deontay? So let's just say McLaurin, Sky Moore. I'm giving up McLaurin, Sky Moore in a 2023 first for Justin Jefferson any day of the week.
Yeah, I would do that as well. Yeah. If I can get away with those. If he says I need Deontay, would you still do it if it was Deontay Sky Moore in a 2023 first?
Huh?
would you still do it if the guy was like, I don't want McLaurin, I want Deontay?
I would.
Yeah, it's that's a tough one. That'd be a pretty fair trade, but I would probably lean Jefferson, especially if I'm like trying to rebuild or something like that.
For sure. Here quickly, I'm gonna check Twitter. You can get to the next comments.
I would love to join the Fantasy Stock Exchange team from over here in France. It's been a dream of mine, and y'all seem to be on point. Yeah, I mean,
appreciate that.
At the moment we're like not like hiring, if that's what you're referring to, but we are, got some things in the woodworks that we're hoping to branch out.
Got some plans in the future for sure.
Yeah. We're more so just focused on providing you guys content at this point. We're not necessarily thinking like, hey, we need to scale or we need to expand or whatever, because we still have a lot to learn about, how to provide content for you guys. Plus, that's our primary goal. We're not like looking to build a media conglomerate in one season. Like we're trying to, build a foundation here.
Yeah, and again, we'll give you guys a little like inside the exchange, if you will, if you want to call that. Which I mean, maybe that's a future series we can bring to you guys. Maybe. Who knows? But I mean, if you guys like more vlogging style type of content that we can potentially introduce like later on, once we've like established the fantasy football content for you guys, that could be a thing. If you guys want like an inside look on like our process and what we do, and maybe if you're a young up and coming analyst and want to provide content in the future, kind of see like the inner workings of how shit works. Yeah, that could be something we introduce in the future. But for us personally, I mean, our number one thing has always been like giving you guys as much value as possible. So getting that content, giving that research. I mean, we will scale appropriately when it becomes that level, when we need to scale. Right now, we're just kind of, vibing. We're just, a couple young 20-year-olds living in our mom's houses, just shooting the shit and talking fantasy and making a livable income off of it now. So it's I mean, that's all I could ask for. I appreciate you guys for making it possible.
Yeah. So let's try and shred through some of these comments. We want obviously people to maybe go back and rewatch this afterwards. So we're not going to try and stick around on here for like 2.5 hours or some shit. But curious of your thoughts on Saquon. I'm in a rebuild. Is he young enough or hold? So if you're in a rebuild and you have Saquon Barkley on your roster
running backs,
don't sell him yet. But he will have more value in season. So I would look to sell him once his value increases, but I would not sell him yet. Unless somebody is like super bullish on Saquon to the point that they already value him as a top 8-6 dynasty running back, like he probably should be valued if he's healthy. Then at that point, then I'm okay, selling Saquon to them, but that's only if you're getting that kind of value. So it's really all going to depend on what people are willing to give you. But as a general, what I think of the Saquon market right now, you're probably not going to get max value for him until the season starts.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Side note, gotta love your calorie efficient beers, 80 calories per beer. So I mean, we can load up.
True. I don't even want to look at alcohol right now. I was
you're slammed
all weekend, so I'm pretty hungover right now. So drop one: Calvin Ridley, Cordell Patterson, or James Robinson. Drop one.
Patterson. Not close.
Probably Patterson. Yeah. Like, I wish you had like an IR spot to throw Robinson on or something like that, but.
Let's get it, Fantasy Condo. I swear he always comes into a live stream, says the exact same thing, and I love it. Appreciate you, Condo.
Yeah. Startup traded 405 and 908 to get 711, 801, a 2024 first. Yeah, I think that's he traded up to 405 to get Kelsey. Ew.
That's money. That's money in the bank to me. I mean, that 2024 one, if you were to appropriate a relative value for that 2024 one in a startup, what would you say, like a 6 or 7 random one?
Yeah, something like that.
So you're basically getting, let's just say a 7 for E's sake, 2 7s and an 8 to go from to give up the 405 and the 908. I'm fine with making that move any day of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get the inherent upside that thing ends up early, and maybe you strike on Travion frickin' Henderson somehow.
Yeah, I love BJ Robbie. Yeah, that's an interesting nickname for him. At this point, go weak at running back in startups and fill out your RB core in the rookie draft.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like the cheapest you're going to get running back production is what I'm trying to say here, is during the rookie draft for the most part, especially if it is, Bijan or somebody that could be an elite prospect. I'm never going to compare anybody to Saquon as a prospect. Saquon Barkley is the best running back prospect I've ever seen, and I don't think we're going to see somebody like him again, personally. But it's possible. If Bijan comes out this year and has 1,900 yards fucking rushing or some shit and has like a Heisman season, then maybe he's into that Saquon type of territory, because Bijan, if anybody's going to do it in the next couple draft classes, Bijan's got a chance to be that good.
Yep. You got to put exactly. I can't risk the fact that Alec Pierce goes out, puts up, the next Jamar Chase season. So I have to have him in my taxi squad just to make sure I don't, ruin the chances my pick is 101. So Brock knows ball.
Yeah. I did a similar productive struggle in 14-team Superflex League. Ended up with Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Schultz.
Now that's hot.
4 first and 6-20.
Now that's hot.
That's music to Danny's ears right now. Dotson's my favorite player from this draft class. I'm a Penn State guy. They always produce good wideout talent. Yeah, they do. They do have a good history of producing good wideouts. Parker Washington, he's interesting for sure. Counterpoint, CD was a great prospect and is good at football, which is again, all that matters. Sometimes I say this all the time, but sometimes we need to think of fantasy football like they did in the 70s. They just drafted the best players. Or like when fantasy first started, they were like, I want Barry Sanders, or like I want whatever 90s fantasy teams. They just drafted the best players. They didn't really care about volume and situation and target competition. They were like, I want fucking Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith and all these guys that were like just dominating at the time. There was no reason to overthink those players.
No, exactly. Also, Chico, one more little Dak slander comment in the chat. You're getting put on mute. Big warning right now.
No, literally. I mean, again, the size factors that you just kind of talk about here, not necessarily required. Just be good. That's literally just be good, and that's all that matters.
Catch, pass, run fast, score touchdown. Yeah.
Thanks for the help, guys. It's an 8-team league, so those 2/3 are probably mid-seconds in a normal league. Okay, interesting. Going to Cowboys Vikings isn't the best, but going to the Jets is horrible. True. Hey. Super flex PPR, half tight end premium, Lamar and Andrews, or Chase and Devontae.
Lamar side.
I'll take Lamar and Andrews. Yeah. Chase, like I would rather, even in, any format, any super flex format, I'm taking Lamar over Chase, and I would take Andrews probably even in a non-tight end premium over Devontae Smith pretty comfortably. And then you also get the stack too. So what's the least you'd sell Russell Wilson for in super flex? The least, if I'm tearing it down, rebuilding, I would look for 2 first for Russell Wilson. That would probably be what I would look for. If I had to decide if I'm just completely tearing it down and I need to get Russell Wilson and those points off my roster, 2 2023 first or 2023 and a 2024 first is probably the lowest I would sell on Russell Wilson.
Yeah. So what'd you say? Sorry.
2 1s is what I said. I'd sell Russ for.
Yeah. I'd be buying for a 1 and a 2. I'd be selling for 2 1s.
Yeah. Need more of Luke.
Dude, did you see that?
Yo, I didn't.
Bro, Mike Smith went to go play the puck behind the net. Milan Lucic just full head of steam fucking cranked them. And then it just caused an absolute scrum. Fucking they evaluated Mike Smith for a conk for a little bit. He got a 5-minute major. Luch got banned from the game. Game misconduct. Mike Smith got evaluated for a concussion, came back in the game like a minute later, and then just he got his shutout ruined, but they won 4-1. So I mean, you take it.
McDavid is 25. That's too old for Dynasty. Got to trade him. If he was a running back, he would be a sell candidate for sure. But unfortunately, in hockey, I mean, he's Mahomes the Mahomes of hockey, right? Like if you get him, you get
better.
him 10 years. Yeah, probably better, honestly. Because he's like the consensus Mahomes. Like, even Mahomes is in consensus 101 right now.
Yeah. Oh, come on, Chico. Stop that.
Yeah.
Dude, Connor McDavid so smooth. Love his game.
It's crazy that he can make pro athletes look like they're still like not on his level. Like, because he was doing this in junior hockey, and because he played in the OHL, which is the Ontario Hockey League, we got to see him. I saw him live. I don't know if you ever did, but I saw him live once playing against the Kitchener Rangers, and this guy just looked like he was on a different level. And you're like, oh, well, it's junior hockey. A lot of these guys aren't going to make the NHL, but this dude literally does it to NHL defensemen, NHL athletes, and just makes them look like he's way better than them. And I have no doubt in my mind that if he played in the Gretzky era, he would be considered the GOAT, and it wouldn't even be close.
He would. I mean, you still have to.
I'm never going to compare cross-era players because it's just impossible.
Well,
but Connor McDavid's natural ability is better than Wayne Gretzky's natural ability.
No, and I agree with that. And it's tough because you can't call McDavid the GOAT because of the records and because of the production. But if we're being realistic, as you said, if McDavid was in that era, he's probably averaging 2 to 2.5 points per game.
Yeah,
genuinely.
He already averages 1.5 now.
Dude,
he's at an era where goalies are way better than they were back then, and defensemen and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't as rough it was rougher, back then. So maybe he gets knocked around a little bit. It's not like he's a small guy or whatever. He probably hold his own back then.
Let me see if I can find the tweet. McDavid.
Anyway, let's close out these questions here, and then we'll hop off of here. Move Akers for Waddle. Is that good value?
Waddle,
yeah, I would much rather have Waddle than Akers.
I'll just say one thing here. So McDavid currently right 23 points in 10 games, so 2.3 points per game. His 23 points right now would have led the playoffs in scoring in 2011, 2012, 2015, and 19. And he's only played in 10 games. Those guys have played in 20 plus.
Right.
Like, that's ridiculous. Hey, let's go.
We hope so. Would love to see a one quarterback startup. Yeah, we'll definitely get one of those on another live stream. Who should they take at this pick? I'm not really sure what they're talking about. Full rebuild and want to trade Waller to get younger at tight ends. I have a ton of future picks and don't want to overpay for Andrews or Pitts. If you can transition Waller into Hawkinson or into Goddard or Freiermuth, and maybe you can even get a little extra for some of those guys, then I'm comfortable doing that. If somebody gave me Pat Freiermuth and a 2 on a rebuilding roster for Darren Waller, I'd probably just take that.
Yep.
How do you both value Jameson Williams right now? I'm worried about the ACL. Do you see him producing in fantasy or Ruggs type where he doesn't get volume? I mean, to be fair, Ruggs was playing pretty well before he decided to be a knucklehead. So I don't want to just say that every fast receiver that doesn't work out in the NFL is now Henry Ruggs, because I do think he's having a breakout season before that happened. But Jameson Williams, I think, is going to be not as good as Waddle, but better than Ruggs. I'd put him like halfway in between those guys, at least as far as his production is concerned, because I did love Ruggs as a prospect.
Agree with that. Some dude in my dynasty starts. Yeah, so you got the exact thing there. He messes up his start of his draft. He takes volatile running backs that aren't going to last 24, trade for his 2024 one. Love that move. Hey, maybe see if you can get his 2025 as well.
Yeah, that's an underrated move for sure. Yeah, go after the 2024 pick once those guys have fallen off.
Would you overpay for someone's best player with future picks if you already own their 2023 first in order to make that pick better?
If some guy, let's say he has like a middling roster and you have his 2023 first and you want Justin Jefferson just to get that production off of his team and also secure maybe a better asset for your own rebuild or whatever, would you trade him to make your own pick worse? I think unless he's not cognizant that that's going to happen, he'll probably want his own pick back if he's going to trade away a guy like that.
And to talk about that real quick, I would only do that if we're trading for like a cornerstone type of asset. If we're trading for a cornerstone asset, I'm fine with it. But if
like Jefferson or Chase or somebody like that, if they're trading that guy and they know that they're going full rebuild, they're going to want their own draft pick back. So unless the guy's just completely blind and doesn't know what he's doing, I think it's a viable strategy. But like Danny said, I would only do it for a cornerstone asset. I'm not just going to trade for Derrick Henry on a guy who I have his 2023 first just to make his team worse. But although it would maybe work out in the long run if you end up getting like the 102 or something because of it.
I live in Erie. Oh, so Erie Otters. Yeah. You got
McDavid at home for.
Dude, well, it was funny because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, Dylan Strome was a solid prospect.
That was my mind went to Dylan Strome immediately as well.
But, like, Dylan Strome was literally the 3rd overall pick because he played on a line with Connor McDavid.
Yeah, he's like the Chris Kunitz of the OHL.
Dude. Well, it's so funny. I mean, kudos to McDavid for getting that guy paid because, like McDavid is that type of player.
Yeah. Nobody will touch Gretzky's records and his production.
His
dominance of his era is unmatched probably by anybody sans Michael Jordan in any other sport, to be honest. Like maybe
way more
you want
than
to call Olympic sports like Michael Phelps and stuff, sure. But man, the dominance that Wayne Gretzky had over hockey, he might be on the Mount Rushmore of goats of the goats.
The only other like player in sports period that's probably as dominant as Gretzky was in hockey would probably be Jerry Rice from a production standpoint. I think Jerry Rice is probably the perfect comparison. Gretzky's your Jerry Rice and maybe McDavid's your Randy Moss, where you can make the debate that McDavid, aka Randy Moss, may be more talented, but you can't dispute that he's the GOAT because of the production. I think that's actually a really good comparison.
Yeah,
McDavid, Moss, Gretzky versus Rice.
Well, glad to catch a live one. Brees has fallen to the 4th in my current startup. Smash. Somebody sent me a trade offer for McDavid.
Decline.
Yeah.
Unless one of those picks can get
I didn't even know that productive struggles in Dynasty was a thing in fantasy hockey, to be honest.
I'll say the only way I'd even consider that, which I would probably still decline, is if you can guarantee me Connor Bedard next year. If you can guarantee me Connor Bedard, sure, we can talk deal, but if you can't guarantee me
generational prospect named Connor.
I know, right? Well, have you watched Connor Bedard play, by the way?
No, I haven't, but he's probably cracked.
Kid's 16 years old, and he was like 2.5 points per game at the World Juniors before it got canceled.
Dude,
he had like a 4-point
that
game.
sounds like McDavid. McDavid was 14, and everybody knew he was going to be the first overall pick in 2016. Everybody knew. Everyone was like, he's going to be draft eligible in 2016. He's going to be the first overall pick. It's not even going to. It's not a debate.
Well, it's the same thing.
And Jack Eichel was a phenomenal prospect too.
Well, it's the same thing with Bedard. If you look at Bedard's stats in junior, though, thus far again, keep in mind this guy's born in 2005.
So that is young.
So he's born in 2005.
Dude,
right?
Imagine if fantasy Twitter and Dynasty Twitter, we could get prospects at 18 into the NFL. So, like they'd be so hyped. They'd be all over that shit.
So he played in the under 20, the World Juniors before it got canceled this past year. He had 5 points in 2 games. And then in the Regina Pats season, so the WHL, as a 16-year-old, he put up 100 points in 62 games.
Yeah, it's dumb. Okay, so let's speed through these questions and hop off of here. Which side? Dobbins, Gus, 203, or Brees with a third on top of that? I would take the Dobbins side personally.
I'm taking Brees 100% of the time.
Yeah, that one's tough. I think the value is good enough there for me to go with the Dobbins side, but Brees is the better Dynasty running back.
Give me Brees, yeah.
One pick to go, and I'll take him. Thank you, Corey. I got Williams at the 110, and he fell in my home league, so I'm very high on Williams and Olave for sure. I like
Dan.
Yep. Covert dude. Okay. These guys are talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Phelps is like, that's why I said, like, I mean, Simone Biles too. Her fucking records are insane. For gymnastics, Gretzky, Jordan, and Bonds. Yeah, but he was juicing, so we don't know if we include him.
Who is there's one, was it Bonds? There was one baseball player I remember that like their on base percentage in a year was like over 600.
I don't really follow baseball, so I couldn't tell you.
Someone who's a baseball fan could let us know. I mean, Brock can let us know. But like the most ridiculous, like for example, like Juan Soto right now is probably the best baseball player to get on base, like period, which is the most relevant, the most valuable stat you can get. If you can get on base, like you're productive to your team. And this guy's like nearly a 50% on base percentage. I'd want to know, Brock, if you know who's like the best on base percentage season of all time.
Yeah, this is also true of baseball, I think, as well. Yeah. I think that's why basketball, people would say like Jordan might be the most dominant athlete of all time, because a star in basketball has way more impact on a game, I would say, than a star in even hockey or baseball or football. Unless you're a quarterback, I guess, in football. Like Tom Brady definitely has had a major impact on his team. But I think, what Jordan can do to a team, or what LeBron or whoever, Kobe, whatever great basketball player you want to bring up, I think they have a bigger impact to their team than most other sports best players would.
Give me the picks there, Blake.
Yeah.
Bond had like 5. Yeah, dude.
I didn't actually know that. This is what I mean. I don't follow baseball. All I know about Barry Bonds is that he was a fucking phenomenal hitter and he was juicing. That's pretty much it. And he played for San Francisco. Traded Alvin Kamara for Josh Jacobs in the 108. How did I do? Yeah, I like that. I like that move for you there. Bonds in 2004. Yep. Yeah, so I know he was awesome. So we're gonna head out of here. It's been about an hour and 40. I was on here for most of it. Danny was on here for all of it. If you guys enjoyed, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links down below as well. Underdog, Dynasty Rankings Manifesto, everything under the sun in the description. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.
Peace out.